The railroad brought the first great influx of people to what was once a tiny stop in the desert. In no time, Las Vegas became a hub for workers and visitors. And in 1905, the town of Las Vegas was officially born. The earliest modern-day residents were attracted by the presence of water and the promise of prosperity. But it wasn't long before Las Vegas's luck ran out, and water became a real resource issue.
These well derricks really are an important symbol for the Springs Preserve, but also for the history of Las Vegas, the history of the Las Vegas Valley Water District. And so they tell a very important story about the growth of Las Vegas and the growth of the Water District and eventually the growth of the Springs Preserve.
Long before wells were drilled for a prospering town, Native Americans and early settlers farmed and found refuge here, as well as a steady stream of water. In time, explorers like John C. Fremont discovered the artesian springs, and so did ranchers who found the source of water ideal for producing grains, vegetables, and fruits. Still, the valley was sparsely populated until the early 1900s, when the San Pedro, Los Angeles, and Salt Lake Railroad arrived. The railroad created the Las Vegas Land and Water Company not only to run its steam engines, but to build and operate the first water distribution system in the valley, a critical need. To supply the railroad and the new town with water, the company laid redwood pipes and constructed protective houses over the springs to keep people, cattle, and other polluting factors out of the water supply. Residents drilled privately owned wells to tap into the underground aquifer. The water company soon followed suit and drilled wells to meet the city's growing demands.
Back in the early 1900s, as far back as 1905 and 1908, there were water wells being drilled in the Las Vegas Valley. The water well derricks we have on site here mostly date to the 1940s, 1941, 42, 43. The well derricks that we have on site, we have 4 of them. We have wells 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then on the corner of Charleston and Valley View on the campus of the Las Vegas Valley Water District, you have well derrick number 10. So we've got a whole series of these well derricks that sort of identify a period in time when the city was growing, water was needed for the rest of the town, and these well derricks and these wells were drilled.
The wells were designed to pump groundwater for municipal and agricultural use. They could yield up to 1 million gallons of groundwater a day, but those levels could not be sustained. Groundwater use eventually exceeded nature's ability to recharge the aquifer naturally. Water levels greatly declined, and even the ground around the aquifer shifted, an effect known as subsidence. As supply and demand concerns grew, Southern Nevada looked for other water supplies, as well as how to better conserve existing resources. The railroad sold the Las Vegas Land and Water Company to the newly created Las Vegas Valley Water District in 1953. And the district quickly built more modern water infrastructure on the Springs Preserve property. The original wellheads are still visible around the trails and botanical garden, easily spotted by the 35-foot wooden derricks above them. While the wells are no longer in use, they are maintained in an effort to preserve the valley's water history. The Las Vegas Valley Water District Board of Directors recently approved a grant agreement that will seek to restore and rehabilitate 4 historic well derricks originally built at the Springs Preserve. Protecting them is important to structural engineers like Mel Green.
History is important, and it's not just the structure and the construction material, it's also the people. And I've been fortunate to work on buildings where there was a tie to somebody important or not so important, but somebody historical. And how do we respect that, and how do we share with people? It's not just a nice looking building, but so-and-so lived here and he was a legislator or a senator or something like that.
Green first assessed the well derricks in 1999. They were restored, but time and conditions have weathered the wooden structures again.
And then here at the well derricks, we fixed these up about 20 or 25 years ago, looked at cracks and patched or replaced lumber as might be appropriate. This is now coming back 25 years later and taking a look at, is there distress, any new distress? And particularly we're focusing on well number 5, which is in the subsidence area, and what are the options there? You know, one of the options is to pick it up and move it. Well, that's not a good solution. I mean, it's a solution, but not the best solution. How can we stabilize what's underground? That's a question. Previous questions is what's, you know, why is there the subsidence? But the real question is, how far down is there solid soil that we could then perhaps build some foundations or pilings to hold up the derrick and then fix it up and make it a structure that will last.
With Green's expertise, the Springs Preserve is evaluating the structural integrity of each of the derricks to preserve their history so Las Vegas's water story can be told for many more years.
Well, we do regular inspections of all our historic structures here on site to make sure that they are maintaining their integrity, that they're not falling apart, and if we do have any damage or degradation of any of our historic properties here, we want to restore them to the proper period when they were built. We want to make sure that those are maintained, that they're not going to fall over, but also just because they're an important part of our history here in Las Vegas, and we want to make sure everybody gets to enjoy and understand them.
Today, you can learn how modern water infrastructure pumps and delivers water at the Springs Preserve's interactive Waterworks exhibit. Waterworks gives visitors an in-depth look at our community's water supply, treatment, and testing, as well as the inner workings of our complex water delivery system. The next time you visit the Springs Preserve, look for the well derricks out on the trails to get a glimpse of Las Vegas's water past and explore how we pump and deliver water today at Waterworks. The past and present converge here, the birthplace of Las Vegas. Reporting for Waterways, I'm Christine Vaughn.